Sex sells. Isn't that what we hear all the time? According to Pornhub's 2014 year in review, there were 18.35 billion visits to the website and 78.9 billion videos were viewed. In the US alone, there are over 68 million searches for pornography, adding up to 25% of all daily searches. Excuse me. It is my contention today that the consumption of pornography has a negative effect on the consumer as well as his or her personal relationships. Exploring my contention, I will share with you why pornography is a drug, pornography hurts the consumer's closest relationships, and why pornography leaves you feeling lonely. First of all, pornography is a drug. Similar to any other addictive substance, pornography pumps dopamine and oxytocin into the brain, chemicals that are usually responsible for rewarding you and making you feel good. Normally these chemicals allow you to feel pleasure, bond with people, motivate us to repeat activities that we enjoy. But these usually healthy chemical reactions have been manipulated by drugs, including pornography. Dr. Norman Doidge, MD, the author of The Brain That Changes Itself, explains that pornographers promise healthy pleasure, a relief from sexual tension, but what they often deliver is addiction, tolerance, and an eventual decrease in pleasure. Pornography floods the brain with dopamine, but because the brain gets overwhelmed by a constant overload of chemicals that comes with consistent porn use, it fights back by taking away some of those dopamine receptors. With fewer receptors, the user can't feel dopamine's effect as much. Dr. Mary Ann Layden, PhD, a psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, told WebMD that therapists who treat pornography addicts say that they behave just like any other addict. She says a key feature in addiction is the development of a tolerance to the addictive substance. In the way that drug addicts need increasingly larger doses to get high, porn addicts also need to see more and more extreme material to feel the same level of excitement they first experienced. Pornography hurts the consumer's closest relationships. Studies show that even casual use of porn causes one to feel less attracted to their partner. A Huffington Post reported study done by Destin Stewart, a clinical psychologist at the University of Florida, conducted a study with 308 college women ages from 18 to 29. The results showed that many of the women who reported that their boyfriends or husbands used porn more often were more dissatisfied with their relationships in comparison to those who reported that their partners didn't view porn as much. Depictions of healthy relationships are twisted and manipulated in porn, and even more frequent users become increasingly dissatisfied with their partner's appearance, sexual performance, and willingness to try new sexual acts. Pornography also depicts violent relationships. Facts shared by Stop Porn Culture report that 88.2% of top-rated porn scenes depict aggressive acts. In 70% of these scenes, the man is the aggressor, and in 94% of those scenes, the woman is the one who is receiving the aggression. Emotional pain and distance can derive from this. Intimate relationships are supposed to be built on trust, love, respect, but this becomes shut down in a world of pornography that glorifies disrespect, abuse, aggression, and infidelity. Pornography can also have effect on loved ones. I'm going to read to you a blog post, anonymous blog post that was posted in December 2014, so just this past month, entitled "An Open Letter to My Porn-Watching Dad from Your Daughter." Because of pornography, I was aware that Mom was not the only woman you were looking at. I became acutely aware of your wandering eye when we were out and about. This taught me that all men have a wandering eye and can't be trusted. I learned to distrust and even dislike men for the way that they perceive women in this way. You see, porn doesn't only affect your partner, it can have an effect on your children. And I know most of us in here are parents, but I mean, probably future parents, and it could have an effect on our future children. And lastly, pornography feels the consumer feeling lonely. The Pornography Awareness Campaign, Fight the New Drug, stated that the more pornography a person consumes, the harder it becomes for them to be aroused by a real person or a real relationship. As a result, the user might start feeling like something's wrong with them. They don't know how to be turned on by a real person, much less by a deep personal connection with one. And in conclusion, I hope that I've shed some light on this controversial subject, that pornography has a negative effect on the consumer and his or her personal relationships. It's a drug. It hurts the consumer's closest relationships and leaves the consumer feeling lonely. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right, well, the proposition's clearly identified. The phrasing on it is a little complicated because you have multiple phrases in the second part of the proposition. The supporting claims are labeled pretty clearly, though, and I thought that that was effective. And in the body of the speech, you signpost those pretty clearly also. Although you did have a little bit of confusion on a couple of the points as to which step you were on at any given point, but that was easily fixed, and it wasn't a big problem. I did think that you had some good evidence, especially on the first point, but there's a little bit of a problem because you make reference to the dopamine and the oxytocin in the brain, and I don't get any citation. And then I got a piece of testimony evidence that sounds pretty good from somebody who is authoritative, that's kind of explaining some of this process. And then I got some more information about how these things react in the brain receptors and that sort of thing. And I couldn't tell if that was more explanation and assertion or whether or not that was the same quote that was going on. I'm sure you got that information from someplace, and so you just need to make sure that you cite it a little bit more clearly. Like I said, the one quote I thought was very effective, but I couldn't tell if that was all from one person, if it was, information that wasn't being cited, and then the quote, and then an additional piece of information from that same source. It was just confusing. I thought that the study on women and how they feel about their partners or how their partners feel about them is a little bit abstract. I do think that it's useful to present, but I'm not sure how measurable it is, and I think it would be one of those things where if you went into the details of the study, it might give us a little bit more information as to how this is working. And I thought that the last point is a little generic. The example of the blog post that you have there, I'm kind of wondering, again, it's an anonymous blog post, so there's no credibility other than just what you've described that goes with it. Why is it that the 14-year-old daughter knows about her father's porn habits? That just seems a little bit weird. How does that sort of thing happen? I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just going, that's creepy to begin with, that sort of thing. And so I thought that you did a good job citing your evidence for the most part. Like I said, there was that little bit of confusion at one point, but you did have some good statistical information, especially at the beginning, identifying the frequency with which people access this information. Let's hope this isn't just an excuse for the refutation speaker to look at a bunch of porn. All right. Thank you.